Good morning, students. Myself Dr.N.Shirisha, Associate Professor, CSE Department, MLR Institute of Technology. Let me tell you about XML elements, attributes and entities, the building blocks whatever we have discussed in the last session. So, the same I am continuing. Just I will give you in brief again with an examples. We will see in depth. Okay. DTD elements are nothing but whatever the tags that you are going to give. Okay, note, to, from, body, all these are what? These are the tags. So declaring elements, these are nothing but, these are defined using what? Exclamatory element name and the category. Okay, element name is what? It is a tag name that you are going to define. And element content, whether what you have to give passed or not, passing data or not. Empty elements are nothing but you define the empty rather than giving the element content. What you are defining the empty there. Okay. So elements with passed character data. So we have seen in the note. In note we are defining to. So in this to we have defined exclamatory element like to or from, whatever, from hash PC data. This we have seen. So what is this PC data? Passed character data which is going to get passed by the XML document. Okay, with any content. Suppose with any content means what? You have to define any here. Okay, so elements declared with the category keyword any can contain any combination of possible data. So how you have to define? Element, note, what type of note? Any note, any type of note you can define here. So there you can also use any as a element keyword. After the element name you have to define that keyword. Within the elements, so how you have to define an element only we have seen. So in those elements also we have so many options, like any type of element can be defined using any. Similarly with children, if you are going to use the sequences, okay, sequence means what? In a serial way, in a linear fashion. So elements with one or more children are declared with the name of the children elements inside the parenthesis. So element name, child tag. So note you are giving with an element element tag, note, in brackets what you are giving? All the child tags. That means to, from, heading, okay, body, separated by commas. So this is what? Sequences. Okay, sequentially we are giving. Can you write here from and here body, then to, then what? Then heading. There is no sequence. So to give that, what are the tags you are going to define? They are in a sequential fashion. Then you can give in the element name followed by the child. It will take it in a linear fashion only. Okay, so they must be appear in the same sequence in the document. While you are executing the document, within the same sequence it will be displaying. Okay. So this is a program which we are keep on discussing on XML example and declaring one occurrence of an element. So here if you see, to is occurred once, from, heading, body, these are all occurred only once. When you are wanted to define something like that, then minimum one occurrence should be given as plus. Okay, minimum one occurrence. That means what? The author has defined plus means the viewers, they will think that there is only one occurrence of a child, one child tag is there. Okay, there is a meaning. So element, note, message, plus. What is this plus? Plus is nothing but one occurrence, minimum one occurrence. Okay, 0 or more occurrences. There may not be a child tags or there may be a child tags. Okay, to define that you are giving star. Star means what? Declaring 0 or more occurrences of an element. What is that element? Say note. Note is an element. There may be one note, two notes, or there are no notes. So that is the meaning of this star. Then 0 or 1 occurrences of an element. Okay. 1 occurrence, 0 or 1. Either there is no child or there is one child. 0 or 1 occurrence. So this gives you question mark. 0 or many. That means star you need to define. Okay. So declaring either or content. Either or. That means you can either write it as a message or you can either write it as a body in note. So then you can define by separating them with a pipeline. Okay. So to from header is there. What we are going to use? Body. In the place of body you may also use message. That is what the user wanted to give the information. So mixed content. When you have a mixed content multiple times, then for whole you are giving the star. Note element can contain 0 or more occurrences of parsed character data to from heading body. So note is containing more 0 or more occurrences. That's why I am giving star. What should be displayed more times? Parsed character data to from header message. So they are separated by a pipe symbol. So this is how you need to define. So that is about the elements. Elements in depth. How you need to define whether how many times they are going to occur. Similarly, in the attributes, if you check, there is an attribute like payment. Okay, all attributes like how you are defining in the element tag, in the DTD, like that in DTD the attributes will be given in the at list. Attribute list. At list is nothing but attribute list. So payment. What is the payment? Payment is an element. For this payment, I am going to define the type. What is the type? Type is an attribute. This is my attribute name. Attribute name. C data. C data means whether it has to parse with the parse or not. Parse means it will parse the content. Like when you are giving ampersand LT semicolon, it will parse it and take the value as less than. So I don't want that parsing. I wanted to display ampersand LT same as is. Then I will give C data without parsing. So check what type of payment you are giving. The value you can give like here at in the double quotes. Within the double quotes. What is this type of payment that you wanted to do, that you are giving as a attribute. Okay. So in the XML there are few attributes in the structure that you can define within the DTD. One is C data, character data, and these are all enumerated lists like enumeration 1, 2, like if you have multiple like message body, multiple if you wanted to define. These are separated by a pipelines. Okay, enumerated list. ID, unique ID, ID ref, ID which is given as a reference for the another element. Okay, multiple references. And NM token, the value is a valid XML name or not. If you wanted to make it as a valid name, then you are going to define what as a NM token. Multiple XML names, NM tokens. Entity, like special characters like ampersand, AMP, semicolon, ampersand, okay, or apostrophe, apos. Okay, so these are all what entities. Then notation, name of the notation you can give. Then XML, value of predefined XML value. So these are all few attributes that you can use, and default value of the attributes are there. So here value of predefined XML values are, we can also give required, okay, attribute required default value. That means what? In forms, if you see, if you have name star, that means what? The name has to be mandatorily given. You cannot skip that field. That is the meaning. Similarly, here if you are giving as a required in the element or attribute, then what does it mean? This you have to give the value for that. Similarly, attribute implied means attribute is optional, fixed value. Suppose there is a price tag, price element. type price, let me give the value as 100. So if you are giving 100, this is fixed. Then to make it fixed, give it as hash fixed at the last. Like this you need to define. Okay. So like that you have hash required, hash implied, hash fixed. Implied required means mandatory, implied means optional, fixed means fixed value. There is no change in that value. So here is a element square. So there is a square which is an empty tag, and attribute list square. I am defining the width of it. Square width. Square is a node element. This element. For this element I am going to define the attribute. Width is a attribute. C data. What type of passing I want? C data. Width what I am giving? 0. Value I am giving it as 0. Or square width is equals to 100. This is a normal XML. In XML we used to write. In the same DTD if you wanted to write, we will write like this. Why you are giving at list here? You are talking about the width attribute. Width is an attribute, so you are giving what? Attribute list, at list. Okay. So in the square element is defined to be an empty element with a width attribute of the type C data. C data means without parsing, it is taking it as is, character data. If no width is specified, it has a default value of 0. This is a default value required. So here there is a person. Person is an element. For the person I am going to give number. What type of number? Required. The number that is required first. So if you have working somewhere, if you are working somewhere, then you will get some IDs. So the person with the ID. So you required means mention that ID number. Okay, like that. So person number equal to. This is also valid. For this XML, DTD is written in this way. Attribute list, number is an attribute, so attribute list. Number is attribute for what? Person, so attribute list followed by the tag name. Then number, what type of parsing you need, whether PC data or C data. Then hash required. Okay, this is how you need to define in the attributes. But if you remember, in elements, say let me write like this. Element. What is the element? Person. It is having, let me say this is having roll number, marks, something like this. Then again you will write element, roll number, hash, C data. If you are writing like this, what happens? This is a character data, hash you are giving here. But if you see here for attribute, we are not going to give hash for C data or PC data. But if it is an element, you have to mention it with hash. But here default values should be mentioned with a hash. That is a difference, small difference. Okay. Implied. Implied is optional. Suppose if you are having a contact, fax you wanted to define, fax can be, fax no one is using now. If you are having, you will be mentioning that number, fax number, otherwise no. So that is why we are going to give implied. Implied means optional. There it is not required, it is not mandatory to give that value. If it is there, you will mention, otherwise no. Okay. Fixed. Attribute list, sender, company, C data, fixed value. So what type of company? Microsoft is fixed. The value is not changed. It should not be changed. So that's why you are giving it as a fixed value. Okay. So like that, enumerated attributes values like pipe symbol where multiple things can be given. So you can do the payment of type check or type cash also. But here default value is cash. Okay, suppose optional. If you have not having cash, then also you can also give it check. You can also give check in the place of cash. So that is the enumerated list we are giving by the default value. You can also give default value here apart from cash. You can also make it check. So what is this? Default value is check. Optional is cash. So whatever you are mentioned here, that will be the default value. Okay. So entity is used to define shortcuts to the special characters, entity name, entity value. Entity, for entity you have to give entity. For element we are going to give this exclamatory element. For @list, for attributes you are going to give @list. For entities we are going to give entity. Okay, so this entity, entity name, entity value. Value should be always given in the double quotes. Okay, so here I am going to give an entity, writer, copyright, writer name and the copyright name we have given, and the author. In the XML program, author is given ampersand writer. What is this? This is an entity like ampersand LT semicolon. We are going to give writer semicolon. This is for writer, and ampersand copyright semicolon. This is also used as an entity for copyright. So when you are giving a copyright, which name will be displayed? Its value will be displayed. The output for this will be what? Donald. Because writer who? Donald Duck. Okay. Then what is to be displayed? Copyright. What is a copyright? W3 schools. So this is how it will be parsing the entity values. Okay. So here is an DTD example for external entity. In the external entity name, system URL, this entity name, system, like how we are given it for the external DTD, simply by giving a note element. Note is nothing but the element name, followed by the system keyword, followed by the external DTD name. So external DTD name here is nothing but whatever the name you are giving. So here similarly we are going to give entity name, system keyword, its URL. So entity, writer, system, this writer is defined somewhere in this URI, copyright is defined somewhere in this URI. Okay, this is how we are going to write for external entity declaration for an entity. So let me show you a small execution on this. There is a program which is of internal entity. This is the internal DTD, internal DTD. In this internal DTD, what we have defined? We have defined note 2 from heading body. We have also entered one footer, writer, ampersand NBSP. NBSP is nothing but a space entity. Copyright we have given W3 schools. Okay, so here we have NBSP something and note writer is Donald Duck. Some values we are passing here. Okay, let me execute this. I am just saving this with file save as int.xml, because this is an internal DTD. So just with XML we are giving. So just execute this. So this is just a simple note. Okay, so see this writer. Who is the writer? Donald Duck. Copyright. Who is the copyright? Whose copyright is this? W3 schools. So this is how your document is being displayed. So see the page source. So your complete DTD is also showing you what is the copyright and all. So see what you are getting in the NBSP space you are getting. Okay. So this is how you have to write an entity in the external DTD with the entity part. What is that? Entity tag. Exclamatory entity is used for writing entity, like how you are doing for attribute list, @list, exclamatory ATT LIST, exclamatory element for defining the elements. Okay. So in the session we have discussed so far about the element, what are the DTD elements, what are the DTD attributes, and what are the entities. So in the building blocks, in the last session we have discussed the building blocks. All the building blocks somewhat in deeper we have discussed about all these things. Okay, by this time I think all the internal and external DTDs are clear for you. Thank you all.